going to say we could just go ahead and get into it and hear what you had to think about the weekend.
Oh, oh, it was a good time. It was a good time. When I got there and walked the course, um, I was a little let down just because it was so easy or so simple, and I just like the challenge. I definitely prefer it when I'm a little stressed about how to hit things and find the fast lines versus kind of when it's just go as fast as you can. But it's still a nice break too. The positive side of it is you just get to concentrate on going fast.
I
You
think
know?
I think Clyde, and we've talked about this before. I think he purposefully schedules some of them that way. Like you leave, especially for say the UTV guys. You leave West
Yeah.
Virginia, somewhere that is just absolute carnage,
Oh right.
and
Oh
then
I agree. I
and then
agree.
you go to the next one and you get a little break, kind of like that. Uh, the new place you guys went this year out in Oklahoma. That was just a go fast course.
Yep.
Um,
And I'm probably not using my words correctly. I'm definitely overtired. I don't mean it in any way like any disrespect with it. It's just not my thing really.
no,
I was more concerned of it from like a viewership from the fans point of it and everything. Like, oh, I hope I always get worried about like if it's not going to be entertaining, and I'm always wrong. It's always entertaining. It was a wild weekend.
it's that pretty place. Of course, it is. I think we've run two races there. I think there's only been three total, and it has changed drastically from year to year. I am glad that the little top part up around the tree you all done. We climbed
Yep.
that at the first race they had at that park a couple years
Oh,
ago.
really?
Yeah, we went up that, and if you add a little moisture, it changes the difficulty rating significantly. But
Oh, I bet.
so I mean that's one thing about it too. If we catch just a little bit of rain at that place, it could be completely different.
Right. Right.
But it was nevertheless still a great show. Um, some of the some of the downhill sections were very interesting. The way people were attacking them.
Oh,
But
yeah, it was wild.
so take us through. I think this was your fifth podium of the season. Uh,
What's that?
I said
I missed that
I
part.
believe this was your fifth podium of the season. So still
Okay.
a pretty good result. Take us through your runs. Take us through what you thought, and I've got some questions about the first run.
Sure. Uh,
So
I
take us
guess
through that.
course one, I had nerves. I had my nerves back. I haven't had nerves for quite, I don't know, since the beginning of the season. And best I can come up with is that I had quite a break here. Is 3-4 weeks with no racing, and I think that's why the nerves were back. Um, but anyway, I lined up on the line there. I got in early, lined up on my line. I had kind of picked out all my areas and lines that I was going to hit. I took off. My biggest goal with takeoff is I seen a lot of free time in just not letting off all the way up to the corner, and that was my biggest push, was to try and keep the machine full throttle all the way up to the corner. I was not able to do it. I still somehow had to let off. I don't really know why, but I still had a real quick time. I haven't had time to post them up against the other people's to see what my speeds were getting up to that top of that corner, but I know it was really good. Um, and you kind of had to aim for the boulder in order to do that because the hill automatically pushed you to the left. So you kind of had to aim right at it and just really know your machine, and the machine would drift to the left and kind of swing right around it. Did that, got up to the top of the corner, made my corner almost perfect up there. Lined up, went in between the trees a little slower than I wanted to, but I didn't bump them or get slowed down. Started picking the pace up, coming down the hill, and looking back, I kind of realized that I was a little out of my game there. I would normally have went faster, um, but maybe that time off wore off a little bit of confidence or something. But came down, and my goal was to cut that corner sharp right away and turn. And there was 3 lines on that hill. There was a very inside, there was a middle, and there was a far right. And my goal was to hit the middle one at an angle, just where the ramp for the left tire, and go right up through the dirt and clear the big hole on the top. I come around that corner on the bottom by the tree. I made that turn real tight, actually tighter than I thought that I could make it. And I was actually lined up for the inside line, and probably should have just went for that looking back, but I took my time, turned, and hit the line that I wanted to go for, and I didn't have enough momentum to clear the hole. I had the gas on, and when my back end hit the hole, it jumped sideways. It kind of threw the whole back end of the buggy up into the air and off to the side, and had me pointing complete different direction than what I wanted to go. So I lost all my momentum, had to let off there, get straightened out, and then get my gas back on. Well, on that, I got my gas back on, and I was frustrated at that moment, and I was trying to over gas and accelerate to make up for the time I lost. And by the time I got picked up to speed, I let off to see where I had to turn, and of course I had already went by my turn, so I had to continue up to the top of the hill and then take a 90-degree right onto the road to go, to continue on. So I basically took the long route, and that cost me a couple seconds, 2 to 4 seconds doing that.
Well,
Um,
that's you've already got to what I was going to ask you. So, you were talking about the downhill part. Was it always the plan to go between the trees and not, because most everybody else went all the way down to the bottom and around, and
yes, sir. For me, that was always the plan. Yep.
well, that's what we were. I was going back, and I'm anxious to see. You do a lot of those side by side videos, and I'm anxious to see how that all lines out. Because I seen you coming up downhill, and it seemed like you were not as fast as what I would have thought. But when I seen you go through the trees, I was like, okay, well, he's setting up his turn. But I
Yep.
wonder, and I'm not saying you did the right or the wrong thing. I just wonder what the time difference is from some of those guys that just shot down, went all the way to the bottom, and then come back up.
Right.
Like to
Right.
see if there was a difference. And then I was also going to ask you about the top. I was like, why is he going that way? Like,
Yeah. That was totally a mistake. That was So on my machine, one downfall of my machine is that I have so much suspension travel, and when I accelerate, it does a lot of weight transfer to the back, and I get a lot of traction, but my front end raise is quite high. Well, I can't on long hard pulls. I have a disadvantage on those long pulls uphill. I have a disadvantage because I can't see. I have to look at other things. So I use the trees and the upper branches to put myself where I need to be because I literally can't see where my tires are. So when I got frustrated, when I hit that hole and the machine bounced sideways, I got straightened out, and I knew I had lost a bunch of time, and I was trying to over accelerate, really to pick up all that I lost. And doing so, the front end's high, and I know I'm doing good, and I'm going where I want, and I'm yeehawing in my head, and I thought, oh, better look, Nick, better look, and I let off, and the front end dropped, and I literally went right by my corner, and I was like, oh man, and then back on the gas because now I got even more time to make up, and I went up there, and I'll be honest with you, as much as all that frustrated me, I went pretty fast through that whole area, and I don't know, I really don't know how much I gave up there, but I'm sure I gave up some because when you walk it on foot, there's quite a bit more distance to go the way I did than what the actual course was.
I
Uh,
You were
yeah,
quick. I don't think. Of course, I went back and looked at the times, and we'll disregard Ben's time because that was a mess. What Mr. Driscoll did, but Wade was a 47.8. You were a 49.6. I think between the from the trees to the top is probably where those seconds were, but I don't think it was like egregious. Um, but I mean, we're dealing with, like you said, tenths of a second here, tenth of a second there. Um,
yep,
but nonetheless, I mean, it was a great recovery, and it looked like, other than maybe the little misdirection at the very bottom of the hill, it all looked pre-planned.
yep. Well,
So
I did plan to try and make that turn tight. I did not anticipate that I would be able to make it as tight as I could, or as tight as I did. When I hooked around that tree on the bottom, that thing spun. I mean, that thing spun right around. I felt like I could have put my hand on a basketball and spun around in a circle,
yeah,
and that is not normal, you know. So that's kind of where I said about the confidence. Maybe not driving for a while kind of kicked in and got the best of me there. But no, it was good. It was good. Anyway, got up to the top of the hill, went around, went flying around the corner, and then down downhills. It's a constant battle with confidence where you gas while you're going down the hill, and then you brake when your machine collapses the suspension into the flats. That's the only time you brake. Otherwise you lose all steering effect. So it's throttle on, even if it's very light throttle, but it's throttle on as you're going down. Brake on any of the flat areas, and it's just a constant back and forth, back and forth. So I did that coming down, and of course my suspension did better than anticipated. And I was like, well, next time I can really go fast down. And I really wanted to jump off that bottom ledge. There was a ledge that was about 15 feet tall. It was the very last one on the bottom, and I really wanted to jump off that, but I had to be lined up and kind of what would be turned to the left, facing the finish line. I didn't want to be facing the rocks or the crowd, when I jump off of it, then have to turn, because likely I'd be bouncing off the ground when I'm trying to turn. But that just never worked out. I was never lined up to actually jump off of it. But no, other than that, that was the first run. It went good. I knew it wasn't the fastest in the world because of all the mistakes I had. But I also knew I watched Wade run, and I knew that he made a couple mistakes and he was unhappy with his too. So I felt confident that we would be close. I just didn't know how much, and I didn't hear the times until I got back by the crowd and everybody told me. So I was
yeah,
happy with when I heard my time and realized that we were that close. I was like, oh yeah, that was good.
yeah. You and Wade had overall really good runs. Like I said, Ben had the fastest time of the first run, but I, some of that, I mean, the first part of the run, Ben done extremely well and was flying, and then I don't know where, and I'll post a video of this too. I'll post a video of your run and Ben's run that I'm talking about now. We'll put it on this, but I don't know where his throttle hung coming downhill.
Uh-huh.
But his downhill was completely out of control. So if he had a control of his buggy, there's no way he gets the fastest time. I don't think he's right there with you guys,
Yep.
but I don't think he
Uh,
gets that time.
talking to Ben, my understanding was I think it was the middle ledge. When he jumped off of that, his back end slapped real hard, and that there is his foot smashed the pedal, and when
Really?
it smashed the pedal, that's when the throttle stuck. So he still was not off. I think he still had two ledges to go.
Yeah.
So when he jumped off one, landed, the back end slapped real hard, his foot smashed the pedal, and throttle stuck, and then kind of he was just in for the ride there, trying to keep it going, And I mean, it did help him. It probably would have been terrible bad if if that throttle wouldn't have been wide open, both those two other ledges, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that pulled it down. And of course, then trying to get it stopped. Thank God that rock was there, because you know what was behind that rock was Daniel's machine there,
Yeah.
and then a 50-foot cliff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so so I kind of out of everything I mean, you know, who knows how bad the crash would have been without the throttle hung, and
Out of that
I doubt
situation,
very highly that thing would have, would have been on its wheels.
yeah, no. I said when I first got down there on Friday, I said somebody's hitting that rock, and they're like, "You don't think so?" I said, "Yes." We've got 100 entries. That's 200 passes on this course between all the classes. Somebody is going to hit that rock, and there were several who tried and missed it, and then Ben hit it however fast his buggy can go. That's how fast he hit it and broke it clear in half. Scary moment. I'm glad he's okay, and all things considered, the buggy wasn't in that bad a shape.
No, no, I really thought the whole motor was going to be ruined.
I did
You
too.
know, I really thought that, and I would have ventured as far to say, like, I'm like, that thing might be totaled. I'm like, it's not very often you see a totaled out rock balancer, but that was my thinking going up to it. And when I got up to it, and I was like, oh, the front axle's bent. Yep, that's bad. And then kind of started looking at everything else, and I'm like, man, this really ain't that bad. But I don't know for sure. Ben,
Yeah.
I'm sure Ben will fill us in after he gets the tear down. But sometimes like that, those big impacts, like I've had big impacts where I've landed on my front end where it shifted everything. It bent the motor mounts, bent the transfer case mounts, the tranny mounts, you know, bent the seat, shifted everything.
I would
So
venture to say it'll be interesting what all he finds as he's trying to repair that machine. But
mostly I'm impressed. I'm impressed with how he handled it mentally and emotionally. That could have went any direction with how a person can deal with something like that.
and while we're talking about it, I was going to ask you this later, but I'll ask it now. So,
Sure.
like I said, guys, I'll put this video out, and you'll see Ben Driscoll in the Misfit buggy. He comes down the ledge, throttle hangs, drives straight into a giant rock, bends the front axle, loses all front steering, all that's destroyed. They ratchet strapped and chain stuff together, and Ben actually goes and runs the second hill in this buggy with only rear steer. Now, granted, it took him however long it took him. Like,
Yeah, that was Charles. As far as I know, Ben and Charles did that.
yeah. So he run that run, and I don't know. I'm going to see if I can find his time now, just out of curiosity. But he run the second hill with a time of 383 seconds. But he got to finish using only rear steer. How hard is that?
It's rough. It's really rough. It's really rough because not only are you fighting trying to keep it straight, but every time a amount of weight goes on the front end and you have the tires turning, it pulls that front end one way or the other. So it's just it's I give him a lot of credit. We were all clapping and cheering when he completed. I mean, that's a heck of a feat.
Yeah, I was. There was a couple of us up on the hill, and we were rooting him on, and like that course is in places very tight, and then to beat all that, you get to the end, and you got to climb this big hill, and I don't know how much room. Like I looked at it, but I didn't pay that much attention. I don't know how much room was around that tree at the very top that you all had to go around. But for him to do all that, then get around that tree and get back over the hill, one with just doing it, two without turning over. Uh,
Yeah, I going down that in my eyes, picturing everything going down that. Once you made it around the top with the rear steer, you have almost no control.
yeah,
And for him, I mean, that's pretty amazing. It's
Yeah.
pretty awesome that he was able to do that. And then, of course, not only do you not have much control, but your only control is accelerating while you're turning the rear steer when you're going down to try and get it to turn. So
Yeah.
it's just, yeah,
Yeah, that'd be wild. All right,
that
take
was a
us.
pretty awesome feat.
Yeah, yeah, he did good. We were all proud of him. Ben uh, has had some interesting moments over the last couple of years. He'll have a really good run, and then something fluky will happen. And one of these days, he's gonna have a solid weekend. Um, okay, so there's run one. Feeling pretty good about it overall. Take us through. Um, was there anything in between? Did you have to fix anything? Had any tire issues or anything like that, or you just straight into round two?
Yeah, I lost the tire, but it wasn't due to the tire. It was due to a bad patch job by myself. So,
Yeah. That that
I,
that place
I
got a lot of tires. So
well, I heard it go psh, right on the end of the course one, literally right at the rock, right before the finish line. And when I got out of my buggy, I looked at it right away, all the tires, and of course the one that I patched, I'm looking at it and I'm looking for the hole and I can't find the hole, and I could actually see the goo of the patch, that the goo was still soft, and I was like, oh. So that's what it was. I didn't do a good job when I patched it. That's all. Or a good enough job. There's too much flex in them. I got
yeah,
to use a bigger patch, you know, probably some better glue material. But
it happens.
lesson learned. Nothing that was, you know, nothing that was anybody's fault other than my own.
Yeah. All right. So take us through. See, you went kind of. If, and I may be wrong here. You went kind of late in run one, so that would have put you very early in run two.
Yes, sir. I was. My number was 6. That was my overall number. So I
Okay, so
was
you would
like
have been third.
3/4 of the way through. Yep, on hill 1, and then I was actually the third guy off the line on hill 2.
So take
It was
us,
Matt
take
Holt,
us,
which
yeah,
was first. Yep.
take us through that run there.
Um. Well, my plan was just to come in real. As soon as I left the line, I was going to cut to the left, and then I was going to start cornering hard to the right, and kind of my ultimate goal was to be bicycling on 2 wheels when I hit the wall, and that would snap it down onto 4 wheels, and all my momentum would just continue through, and I'd be flying up the hill. That didn't happen exactly like that. It was just light. It was just very light. It was real close to being up on 2 wheels when I hit it, but I hit it perfect. Carried a ton of speed up there. Was real happy with that. Made my corner really good at the top of the hill. Accelerated down real good. Made my corner marginally well. In my head, what I had it planned is I wanted to drift the whole thing and never really have to let off the throttle into the face there. But for some reason, had the hardest time when I came around the hill seeing where I had to go, or finding the actual spot that was the race course. So when I come around the corner, I was gassing it, and I was like, where is this hit? Where is it? Where is it? And then I seen, oh man, it's over here. So I had to cut back towards it. But so that was a little hiccup there. Jumped right up that like nothing. And then there's that big rock, and that was a big intimidator for everybody, whether they'll say it or not. There was a big angled rock that's facing you. You could probably drive your whole machine under it. And that that rock was right there, and then on the left was like a big tree. So you were kind of hesitant to be wide open in case your machine started directing into that rock. But everything was good through there. I went right through there, got up, cut to the right, made my 90-degree turn to go up the big hill there, and my plan was to go outside to the right, And what I was trying to do is I was trying to swing it real wide and then cut in tight to the tree and come straight back down. And the way I had it lined up is if I swung wide outside and then cut in tight facing back down, I was completely lined up. I had to do no steering. I would be lined up all the way with the bottom of the hill. And when I made that turn up there, something caught. I think my back tire hit a tree, or my axle housing hit that rock, but something dead stopped me for a split second, and I had to take off again. So that threw me a little bit off there because it was a hard jar. But then coming down the hill, everything was perfect. I was lined right up. I hit the gas, and that's always when you're going downhill and you hit the gas, it's like rocket boosters. I just accelerated real hard, hit my flat area, touched my brake to kill off a little speed, and compress my suspension. So when I come off the next one, my front wasn't diving. And just worked that all the way down. And I was hoping to be lined up where I could just pin it and jump off that last ledge at the bottom, but I was just facing straight off to the rocks and the crowd instead of the finish line. So I had to drive off of it.
I was expecting more people to try and jump. I guess jump that, and I think just the direction. I think everybody was fighting a lot of the same things that you were. They were pointing the wrong way when they got there. Because I heard several people talking about jumping off of it, and even in
Yep.
the UTV class, and then you really didn't see. I mean, there was a couple guys, I guess, that did or kind of tried, but most everybody went down fairly uneventful. Um, that's the thing, we were talking about um, on Friday. Some of the guys were talking about walking the course, and they're like, we walked this thing 4 or 5 times, and by the time you run, nothing is the same unless you're lucky enough to go first.
Yep.
And I don't know if that's always a good thing. You sometimes it's good to see some people go up it, but stuff moves around, and I was like, well, you walk the course more so to see the things I feel like that you don't want to hit. Stuff to okay, let's stay away from this rock or this tree or but there's so much movement in all those boulders. Even up on the hill, like I was constantly where I was standing, constantly dodging stuff rolling off the mountain. Um, so yeah, you can have a plan,
Yep.
but you can have a plan, but it's usually you end up going where the buggy says you're going.
Yes, sir. No, it was pretty exciting when it came to that. Even going up that hill, I did want to go back and look up the bigger hill, on course 2 when we went up and around that tree
Mm-hmm.
to see how that whole area ended up looking from when it started, because I knew that I had a considerable advantage being very early in the lineup, just because it wasn't going to get dug out. It was fairly smooth. So I was really wondering, how bad is that going to be? I'm sure everybody's seen them where, they're nothing. They're butter. You could drive a two-wheel drive car, or pickup up them, and then halfway through. So
Yeah.
that was what I was concerned of. But I don't think it ever became a bounty hill. But man, to me, it really looked like it could have.
Well, that's like I said, we run that same hill um, 2 winters ago at an event, and I think some of your friends were there. Um, I think Jeremiah was there, and some of his bunch, and add a little water to that, and that becomes a whole different situation because
Oh
there's
yeah,
a lot of people had trouble with it the day we were there. Of course, it was fall of the year, leaves and all that nonsense, and um, but it wasn't even. I walked up and looked at it, and I was like, this could be one of two ways. This could be really bad, um, or it could be a highway. And then before the race started, I was talking to some guys that had a UTV up on it Friday night, and they're like, "No, this will be fine." So I was kind of relieved because where that was, I'm kind of like you. I like the more exciting, the straight up Bounty Hill stuff. But if you get some of those bouncers up on that hill and get them wedged on that tree, or get somebody, God forbid, turned over at the top of that thing, there's not a whole lot to catch you until you get to the bottom. So that could have, if it did turn, it would have turned bad, I think, pretty quick.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I did that did run through my head when we were up there walking the after the course one when we were out, when everybody was walking the course for course two, being up there that like don't mess around here shifting gears on the hill or try and get I just reminded myself, don't get real wild, just pick your spot, hit a bunch of momentum and get up there. Don't be messing around, because if you ain't going to be able to drive out of it. The amount of speed you're going to be going when you roll once on this, it's going to be bad, and who knows when you'll stop.
Yeah, but it was pretty uneventful. All the bouncers, nobody really had any trouble. There were some guys that had some trouble making the turn, but no real issues. Overall, pretty uneventful Saturday, I guess, for the most part. The day didn't last near as long as I was expecting. So you have these courses, like what we were talking about, that are not as extreme as, say, like West Virginia, but all it takes at a course like that is a couple, especially the big bouncers, a couple of you guys on your lid up in that wood section, and we've added an hour and a half to our day
Oh yeah.
real quick, just because of what it would take to get something turned over or get somebody out of there. If God forbid we had to get an excavator up on the hill. Um, so we were one or two, recoveries away from a much longer day, but all the bouncers fared really well. UTV guys, I mean, everybody kept it moving. For as many entries as we had, I think it was a really good show, and they kept everything rocking and rolling. Um, so to the points now, you are back to second place, 2 points behind Wade. Um, what's the game plan going into our next race at Hawk Pride on August 23rd?
Just to be consistent, uh, I I want to basically do the same thing I did this race. I feel more than capable of beating him, and I'm sure he feels the same way of me. And I just want to be consistent. I'm trying to at this point. I feel like I'm where I need to be with my speed, and I just have to manage my risk. And I feel like I got to manage that risk just better than he is. And that's my plan going for these next races, just to manage risk. So I feel as there's so much points available. There's so many points available, and the only thing that you can do that'll really ruin you is if you DNF.
Yep.
Right? That's the biggest thing. If for instance, like if if there was, let's say, $5,000 or $10,000 on the line for a first place finish versus what there is, or more, then I think those risk managements would increase a lot harder on both our, all the top contenders' sides,
Oh,
because
absolutely.
everybody be, not so concerned with the points, and you'd be chasing the money, hanging it all on the line. But it's just, to me, that's just where it is. Like I feel like there's plenty of speed there. I feel like both of us. I feel like actually more than both of us. There's like 4 or 5 of us that are right there. That the speed, the buggies are set up so good that it's actually the ground. You know what I mean? Like we're getting to the point where it's so fast that the ground's just not capable of holding any more speed with the momentum, the weight, and the amount of horsepower.
Oh,
So
I agree with that 110%. And
so I
go ahead.
I don't really feel like it's a talent thing, or I shouldn't say a talent thing. We've gotten to the point where now we're weighing risk. You know, everybody's gambling with how much risk they're willing to take to win. You know, and I guess that's probably the best part about racing. That's where it gets really exciting, is when everybody is really talented and the speed is really fast, and everybody's like, well, how far are you willing to go? You know, and if you got, like, I can remember perfectly back where when Timmy and Wade were running against each other, and I mean they were both taking some massive risks, and you know whoever went first and would complete and have like a perfect run with, they did some crazy sketchy stuff. Well, that just put a tremendous amount of pressure on the next guy that had to go. So I guess that's what I think. I guess that's just racing too.
It is. Well, you got our points standing right now is Wade 619. You have 617. Cooper is third with 555, and Daniel Heckley with 531. So it's really Daniel's an outside stretch. He needs probably two DNFs from the guys ahead of him to jump, but he still has a shot at the top three. But it's really looking like um, you, Wade, and Cooper for the season if all remains status quo. But any three of you guys could turn it on one weekend and just walk away and stink up the show. So you definitely got to stay on your game and just do. I mean, just you got to keep doing what you're doing.
Yep.
You've done it, pretty good so far. So I'd keep rocking and rolling, man. And Hawk Pride is going to be a good show for you guys that have never been to Hawk Pride. If you're listening to this and you get a chance to come, that place has the potential to put on a real show, especially on No Respect Hill, depending on um, what they have built. If they've built any ramp or the ramp, if they've taken it away. Um, no Respect can be rough, and
Yeah, that's a wild hill.
it's a wild hill. Yeah, I don't think it's not as bad. I don't think as the hill in West Virginia, but it is a close second. Um, so if you get a chance to come to the race, guys, if you're listening to this, come to West Virginia, Hawk Pride Mountain Off Road Park, August 22nd, 23rd. Check out the race. If you can't be there in person, check it out. Power Sports Nation TV if you can't make it, and it'll be a good time. You don't want to miss the rest of the season. We've got a couple epic championship battles to be decided in the next three races. Um,
That that no respect hill that you're talking about.
yes, sir.
That's something so neat about that hill is I think there was like 5 people that climbed it last year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and all these people hit, but it was muddy as can be, and there was only an area to hit that hill. You had to hit it with your left tire, and there was an area on that hill, and it was only 4 inches wide where you had to hit it with your left tire. And if you didn't hit that, you just ran into a wall and you weren't going upward. But there was just a little like angled 45-degree area where everybody was aiming to hit that. And afterwards, I was down there. We were down there looking at that, and that little 45-degree slant, you could count all 6 or 5 of the people that had hit it because there was a rim gouge from each one of them where the tire completely collapsed
Really?
and took out a nick on it. Yeah,
That's
I thought that
crazy.
was so crazy. Yeah, that there was 5 or 6 people that climbed it, and that's how many rim gouges there were, right on that little 4-inch patch.
That's crazy. I did notice watching that hill. There was the I noticed the spot. I didn't see the rim gouges, but I know the spot you're talking about.
Yep,
But and I think maybe me and you have talked about this. I know me and Dan have on the other show. You had to hit that hill. You're basically guys, you've got to check out this next race at Hawk Pride. You have to hit that hill if it is similar in shape as it was last year. You have to hit it so hard that also your back tires hit the hill, and you kind of almost have to donkey kick your way up it too.
Yes, sir.
So like
Yep.
your back tires have to hit the hill with so much force, so you don't just go straight up in the air. Your back tires have to propel you up the hill, and just driving a 4,500 pound, 1,000 horsepower machine into a wall, like just straight into a wall. You guys are nuts. That's all I know. So it'll be a daggone good show. And after there, we go to Missouri, and then I think we're on to finals. So it's really winding down. Um, I encourage everybody to come check out a show um, at some point, anytime you can. Come your nearest park, wherever that's at, and get out and go see what it's all about. Nick, we'll let you get on home. I'd say you're getting close to being back. Um, we'll let you get on home, and we'll talk to you here in a week or two.
Sounds good. Appreciate you and appreciate everybody out there listening.
Right on, guys. Check
All
us out.
right, later.
See ya.